A privacy-first AI startup just hit a $1 billion valuation by doing what every other AI company said was impossible, building a genuinely powerful model while keeping users' data completely private. Venice AI closed a $65 million series, a funding round in late June 2026, and the investors backing this aren't betting on a niche product for privacy-conscious users. They're betting that the entire AI industry is about to flip. While ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and every other major AI platform train their models on mountains of user conversations, search histories, and personal data, Venice took a completely opposite path. They built an AI assistant that works just as powerfully without ever accessing your information. No data collection, no training on your conversations, no selling your habits to advertisers. Think of it this way: most AI companies built their competitive edge by hoarding as much user data as possible. Venice is proving you don't need that. That change, from the data hoarding model that built today's AI titans to a privacy-first approach, is now worth $1 billion. And here's what makes this moment surprising: investors are finally rewarding it. For years, privacy was treated as a competitive disadvantage in AI, something that slowed you down. Now it's becoming the edge that wins market share. This is where the AI story takes a turn most people haven't noticed yet. Venice AI started in 2024 when a group of cryptography experts and privacy advocates left bigger AI companies to build something radically different. They weren't interested in chasing scale at any cost. They wanted to prove that you could build a best-in-class AI model without violating user trust. The company tapped into something that was already brewing in the tech world. Privacy violations in AI have been stacking up. Users discovered their conversations with ChatGPT were being used to train the next version of the model. Apple's voice assistants were quietly recording everything. Tech companies were harvesting user behavior to improve their algorithms. Meanwhile, regulators woke up. The European Union passed laws making it harder to collect and use personal data without explicit consent. Developers realized their AI models couldn't access the same goldmine of user data they'd relied on before, and consumers started voting with their wallets. They wanted products that respected their privacy. Venice arrived exactly when the market was hungry for an alternative. They had a working product. They already had paying customers before this funding round. Most importantly, they had built something that actually worked better because it didn't need to spy on users. The $65 million series from investors like Accel partners and others isn't betting on an idea. It's betting on a company that's already proven the model works. This is what momentum looks like when you've solved a real problem. Here's where the technology gets interesting. Privacy-first AI isn't magic. It's a set of engineering choices that traditional AI companies deliberately avoided because they were harder. First, the training data. Venice trained their model on publicly available information, research papers, open source code, published news, books. No scraping user data. That sounds like you'd get a weaker model, but you don't. They actually got stronger results because the training data was cleaner and more diverse. Second, the actual computation. When you ask Venice a question, the processing happens using techniques called differential privacy and secure enclaves. Think of it like a bank processing transactions in a soundproof room where the tellers handle your money but can't see your account number. Your data gets processed correctly, but Venice never actually sees the raw information. Third, they open-sourced part of their infrastructure. They published their privacy techniques so researchers could verify they're actually secure. That transparency builds trust in a way closed-source AI companies can't match. The technical challenge is real. You can't just slap privacy onto an existing model. You have to redesign everything from the ground up, and that takes serious engineering. But the payoff is huge. You get a powerful AI that respects your privacy by design, and you can verify that it actually does what it claims. That's worth $1 billion to investors who see the future coming. Let's ground this in the real world. Who's actually using Venice AI and why? Doctors and healthcare systems are the first wave. Imagine you're developing an AI diagnostic tool for hospitals. You need patient data to train it, but you can't touch actual patient files under HIPAA regulations. With Venice, you build and deploy a diagnostic AI without ever accessing protected health information. lawyers face the same problem. Law firms need AI tools to analyze confidential case files and contracts. Using open AI means your legal strategy gets mixed into their training data. Venice stops that cold. Manufacturing companies want AI assistants to analyze internal processes and supply chain secrets. With privacy-first AI, they deploy without worrying it's leaking competitive secrets into someone else's model. Financial services companies need AI for fraud detection and risk analysis, but they can't expose customer data. Human rights organizations use Venice to build tools that keep activists safe. Activists in authoritarian countries need secure systems, and Venice's privacy protections mean their communications can't be logged or exposed. The pattern is clear. Whenever your business depends on processing sensitive information, privacy-first AI isn't a luxury feature. It's the only option that makes sense legally and ethically. These companies aren't using Venice because it's trendy. They are using it because it solves a real legal and ethical problem. And investors understood instantly that this represents the future of enterprise AI. So how does Venice stack up against the AI giants? Let's be honest, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they're more feature-rich. They're trained on more data. They can do more things, and sometimes they do them better. Venice's advantage isn't feature-for-feature competition. It's about a fundamental trade-off. OpenAI's ChatGPT collects your conversations and uses them to train future versions. Google's Gemini integrates with your entire Google ecosystem. It sees your searches, your emails, your calendar. Anthropic's Claude is better on privacy than OpenAI, but it still trains on user interactions. The model gets better by watching what people do. Venice doesn't do any of that. Your conversations don't train the next version. Venice doesn't sell aggregated data about how people use AI. Venice doesn't build profiles that follow you across the internet. That's the trade-off. Venice might not be as feature-complete as the giants yet, but what you get is privacy that's actually real. Now here's what's important. Venice isn't saying the giants are evil. It's betting that the market is moving. Just like web browsers shifted from Internet Explorer to Chrome, and phones shifted from Windows Mobile to iOS. The AI market is shifting from data hoarding models to privacy-first models. The giants will adapt. Some of them are already talking about privacy improvements, but Venice is already there. And in a market change, being there first matters enormously. But wait, there's something nobody's talking about yet. What does this funding round signal about AI's future? Venture capitalists betting $65 million on Venice are betting that privacy first is becoming the industry baseline. They're not betting Venice outcompetes ChatGPT in raw capability. They're betting on the structural change. Think about energy. Fossil fuels dominated for decades. Then solar and wind became cheaper and better. Companies staying fossil fuel only didn't disappear overnight, but they got smaller and more marginalized. AI is heading the same direction. Regulators are tightening laws constantly. The European Union's AI Act, China's data rules, California's privacy laws, all pushing toward privacy by default. Companies that don't adapt face fines and backlash. Second, developers are voting with their feet. When building applications with sensitive data, you choose a closed-box AI that harvests your data or privacy first. Developers increasingly choose privacy. Third, user sentiment shifted. Privacy breaches used to feel abstract and corporate. Now they feel personal and immediate. A 2025 survey showed 72% of users prefer AI tools that don't collect data, even if slightly less powerful. That's a market signal impossible to miss. Venice's $65 million raise validates what investors already knew. Privacy-first AI isn't a fringe movement anymore. This is the ground change beneath the entire industry. If you want to try Venice or any privacy-first AI, what should you look for? First, be skeptical of empty privacy claims. Every AI company now claims privacy, but read the fine print. Do they delete conversations, use your data for training, sell analytics about you? Venice's answer is transparent: no, no, and no. You can read their policy without hiring a lawyer. Second, check independent verification. Has anyone outside the company audited their claims? Venice published documentation letting security researchers verify what they claim. That transparency matters. Third, think about your use case. For casual questions, ChatGPT or Gemini is better right now. But for anything sensitive, medical research, legal work, business strategy, confidential stuff, privacy first makes sense. You're not paying a feature tax. You're paying for something you actually need. Fourth, understand the trade-off. Privacy-first AI is catching up on features, but it's not perfect yet. Expect improvements. Expect new capabilities rolling out. Make the trade-off consciously. Finally, support the change. Use privacy-first tools when they fit your needs. The more users who vote for privacy with their attention and money, the faster the industry transforms. Now here's where the real story starts. Here's what to watch from this moment forward. Venice AI hitting $1 billion isn't just a company milestone. It's a watershed moment for the entire AI industry. For years, the assumption was that the only way to win with AI was to collect as much data as possible and build the biggest model. Venice proved that assumption wrong. They proved you can be a category leader without invading privacy. That change is going to ripple through everything. OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, they're all going to have to answer harder questions about privacy. You'll see more privacy-focused competitors emerge. Developers will demand better privacy options. Users will expect it as the norm, not the exception. The $65 million funding round was investors saying, "This isn't a niche anymore. This is the future." The era when companies could collect unlimited data and ask forgiveness later is ending. The era when privacy is a feature, not an afterthought, is beginning. What this means for you is simple. You're about to have real choices in AI. Instead of picking between different closed-box models, you're going to be able to pick tools that actually respect your choices and your data. That's worth paying attention to. For daily coverage of how this change plays out, follow for daily AI news. The future of AI is being written right now.